Thanks for returning to Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller. When I first learned of the legendary film we're showing today on Noir Alley, I wasn't even old enough to drink. I was around 15 in the early stages of my obsession with movies, and I'll admit a lot of that interest stemmed from an infatuation with actresses of the classic Hollywood era. I definitely had a thing for the bad girls like Gloria Graham, Marie Windsor, and Audrey Totter, sexy fixtures in what I'd come to know as film noir. Then one day, an older movie buff told me I hadn't seen nothing until I'd seen an actress named Ann Savage. In today's film, a grungy little B movie called Detour, made in 1945, Savage played a character known only as Vera, whom this guy promoted as the meanest woman in the history of the movies. Seeing as this was long before the advent of TCM, or even the invention of the video cassette recorder, there was no way to see Detour except to study the weekly TV guide and wait for it to show up on Movies Till Dawn or some other dead-of-night telecast. And that's exactly how I first experienced it. And dare I say, it may be the ideal way to absorb this strange, unsettling film, in a state where you're not quite sure whether you're watching it or dreaming it. So if you're barely awake right now, perfect. Detour was made at Poverty Row Studio PRC, which stood for Producers Releasing Corporation. Folks in Hollywood joked that it really meant pretty rotten crap. And the name was fairly accurate, at least until director Edgar G. Ulmer started working there. One of a number of talented directors who'd emigrated to Hollywood from Germany to escape the Third Reich, Ulmer had been blackballed at every major studio after having an affair with Shirley Castle, wife of director Max Alexander, whose uncle, Carl Laemmle, was chief at Universal, and saw to it that Ulmer was relegated to Poverty Row for the remainder of his filmmaking career. But he couldn't stop Ulmer from being a wildly creative director, even on the most meager budgets. In adapting Detour from Martin Smith's more expansive novel, Ulmer took the tale, which told parallel stories about Al Roberts and his girlfriend, Sue Harvey, and streamlined it into a nightmarish tale of one man's cross-country misadventure and how his life runs off the rails when he picks up Vera, the hitchhiking harpy from hell. Ann Savage and Tom Neal had previously made several pictures together when they were under contract at Columbia. For various reasons, both of them fell out of favor at the studio, and both ended up at PRC, which in 1945 was like stumbling from the curb to the gutter. But amazingly, under Ulmer's inspired direction, working on a super short schedule and minuscule budget, Neal and Savage ended up making the film for which they are both remembered. Few films of this era got so much out of so little. Detour remains a touchstone for low-budget filmmakers, not only because of the resourcefulness Ulmer displays as a director, but because the film is unique in its use of an unreliable narrator relating, true or not, the tale of his downfall. Along with Arthur Ripley's The Chase, made the following year, this is the rare Hollywood film of the era that has the unsettling rhythms and what the hell is happening momentum of a genuine nightmare. Fasten your seatbelts and don't stop for strangers. From 1945, here is Detour.